welcome everybody. We're at 6:45 or 6:35. Welcome to Passive Cash Flow for Life. For those of you that are returning, welcome back always. And then for the people, I think we have a couple of new people on here as well. So a little background for you. So Nicole, that is on the call as well, has been investing in commercial real estate for about 26 years, a little bit more, and had great success across the country, buying thousands and thousands of units. And then about 11 or 12 years ago, she started teaching. I took her class, we ended up partnering up. And then about 4 years ago, right before COVID, we actually took the class online. And it's about 60 hours, 36 modules. It's passivecashflowforlife.com. So the idea behind these is that, one, obviously to give back, right? But two, hopefully if you have not been in the multifamily space before, or you've been considering it, this gives you a little bit more of a taste of what it's like to actually be in commercial real estate, specifically multifamily, mobile home parks, and self-storage. And one, obviously, we hope we educate you and provide you some value. And two, we hope that you decide to take the course and join us in our community. So a little bit about Bob. So Bob and Nicole, and I'm going to let her jump in here soon, have known each other for a very, very long time. And Bob sent me a couple of touch points, which I will just kind of, and I don't think this isn't, I don't know Bob that well. I've talked to him once or twice, but I know this is not bragging. I think this is more establishing credibility. So when he speaks, you kind of understand what his background is and why you might want to put, just like with Nicole, some weight onto his advice or his teaching, because he's kind of been there, done that. So the most units he's had is 8,000. The smallest complex right now is 36 unit. The largest is 409 units. Smallest purchase have been $750,000. The most expensive has been $45 million. And he's also done a little bit of office. Hopefully you got out of that okay, Bob. He's done some hard money lending, self-storage, and he's also in some single family and multifamily development. So exciting stuff. So Nicole, do you want to say a couple things?
Yeah. So kind of Bob and I started out coming in from different ways, but we started out in the multifamily or commercial space somewhat at the same time, and been buddies kind of for off and on ever since. I happen to know he's in Asheville, North Carolina, and he has a couple of single family developments there. I don't know where he is on that. The last time I talked to him about it, he was in the second or third phase of that development. He's probably done by now, but he runs some, I don't know if it's a meetup or real estate groups down there. But he's kind of well-rounded. He's been doing a lot. He's also a Keller Williams broker. He owns some brokerages around the country, and he has a couple of kids that work with him. One who's stationed out in Hawaii right now, and then his son, who I've known Travis about as long as I've known Bob. So anyway, Bob's a really good guy, and you really should listen to him. So he's also done a number of sponsor slash principals to where he's been the principal and things and helping people kind of getting started. And that's kind of what I wanted him to talk about is what is that role? What does he look for? And kind of what he sees is going on right now. And so again, we also both love to fish. And so that's kind of one of the things we had in common for a long time. He's an avid fisherman. Just got back from Argentina where he caught the biggest fish and the heaviest fish. Isn't that right, Bob?
No, I caught the most fish. My son caught the biggest.
Ah, okay. So he caught
Both
the
have bragging
most.
rights.
All right. So anyway, thanks for being on, Bob. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Nicole, I'd do anything for you. You're the best.
Oh, you're such a sweet talker.
Well, I was a sales rep for 40 years, so I got practice.
So
But
I don't know if you have a deck to share, but I made you co-host, Bob, if you need to do that.
No, I'm just talking. I'm not showing any slides or anything.
Okay, perfect.
I'm old school. Um, well, Nicole, a couple of things he said that aren't correct. Kibby's now living in Virginia, my daughter.
Oh.
They're not kids anymore. They're almost 50.
How old does that make us?
Just a little older. And I speak every now and then, but I don't do it for money. I don't want to be a guru. I don't want to be a teacher. I just want to help if I can. And one of the things that Nicole asked me for was explain what a KP is, which I do that for 3 or 4 people a year. And a KP is the person that comes in as one of your general partners. And the main reason for a KP is to get the loan so you can obtain the loan and get things started with the purchase. Um, Things that the lenders look for is the general partners as a group in a syndication to have at least enough net worth to cover the loan amount and to have enough liquid assets to cover 6 to 8 months worth of payments. Those are the two key things that if you can't get that, then you kind of dead in your tracks. Um, there's a GP, I talked about that. Um,
So what do you think that, what do you look for before you're going to sponsor, or agree to be a general partner in a deal? So what is that? What do people need to bring you and what do you look for?
I'm gonna have to excuse my speech. I have Parkinson's and I've been diagnosed for 15 years, but it's not stopping me. It's just slowing me
That's right.
down. So what we look for is basically someone that's got drive and interest. And I like to say someone that has a clue. They have a clue as to what they want. They may not know how to get there, but they do have drive. They do have stick-to-itiveness. Um, they need to um, be professional. And that is not necessarily be in a professional position, but be professional in life. And you get this is a team effort. I've syndicated every one of my deals. I've done over 40 deals, and everything one has been with partners. Um, Strong work ethic and strong resume. And the resume doesn't have to be, again, in the real estate world. It has to be in life, in whatever job that you're doing. You've taken pride in what you do. Um, Having a strong network of people that are accredited is always a plus. Um, that makes it work a little bit harder if you don't have accreditation. But the ironic thing is being a GP, you don't have to be accredited. To be an LP, a limited partner, you should be accredited. And as someone that's out looking for money, you should only, in my mind, should only be focusing on those that are accredited. Um, just makes life easier with the SEC. Um, let's see what other things that I don't recommend getting Parkinson's. It ruins your day. Um, some things that a KP is not, they're not the lender. They don't guarantee the investor that they're going to be successful. They're not an equity raiser. Of all the people that I've worked with, I don't put my money in on the first deal because I want to see how you perform on your own. I'll help you and coach you um, along the way if you come to me with a question or a situation. Operating manager, our operations manager, is not a job description of a key principal. They're not someone that babysits, and they're not someone that, like I said, loans money out. At least I don't in the first go around. Um, I went over what people are doing from a profession. You know, like I said, have a clue and a vision. Work ethic is important. And just
So
believing in yourself.
what do you look for in a deal? So I'm assuming that you want people you might work with to bring you a deal that looks like it works. So what kind of criteria do you kind of look for in a deal to consider being the general partner?
Well, the way things have been going economically, I'm looking for not so much C properties anymore, but B properties I'm focusing in on, and some A properties that may have a management issue. C properties, if they're in good shape, they're just a C because of their age, and they're in a great neighborhood, a B neighborhood or better. I can look at, but want to make sure that I'm going to underwrite it, that there's good value add, and management is the easiest change for value add, and try to find 3-2 properties that make up the lion's share of the unit base. And I'm most familiar with the Southeast. I have properties from Virginia to Texas, Louisiana. But I've looked at properties with people in Indiana and California, which I don't understand at all. Um, looking at
And
Florida,
I don't want to learn.
that's true. The only two markets that I've been burnt in have been Memphis and Detroit. So it's pretty leery of those two markets. And just properties that they need more makeup than they need structurally. That's better.
Are you looking for a certain cash on cash return or internal rate of return at the end of year one? Are you looking for certain cap rates? Are you looking for, so you already said value adds. So are there other kinds of things that, because
Sure.
though I know I wouldn't bring you a deal unless it met some of my criteria, but I'm sure that people would kind of, so I don't know what you're doing because you know you're much more buying much more recently than I have, but I want a property that is going to get to an 8 cap by the end of year one, and it's going to be at least a 10 to 12% cash on cash return by the end of year one or two. So I have something. So do you have things like that that you look for?
I do. Not as aggressive as you. We're looking at anything that's going to be a 5 to 7 year hold.
Okay.
We're looking at cash on cash of 8-9% minimum. And then we're also looking at an internal rate of return in the high teens to 20.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, if it doesn't quite meet the criteria and there's an easy workaround to get it to where it needs to be in the first year, I'll continue to look at it and do the underwriting.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has saved me a ton of time is I've found a lender that I work really well with, Kevin Jenkins at Northmark Capital in Charlotte. I'll send him the offering memorandum and let him size it up and underwrite it before I spend another 10 minutes on it. Because if you can't get the loan, or a decent loan, there's no sense in spending and wasting your time. So Kevin does it for me, and I just go through him on most of my deals. That's a big time saver.
So does he underwrite a lot of loans that have properties if they have a lot of hair on them? Or is he kind of
You'd be amazed at what he writes.
ah,
Um, he has a program out now where it's a bridge loan, 10-year bridge, interest only, fixed
wow.
rate, fixed rate. And that's where I'm starting to see some interest because the rates are 6.5%,
Yeah.
and the numbers are starting to work again when you do your underwriting.
So would you mind telling people the difference in your mind about and what do you do? So cash on cash return is pretty self-explanatory, but internal rate of return kind of varies depending on your own situation. So how do you
Okay.
look at those two differently?
Okay. What I do is cash on cash return is the amount of money that you get as a return on an annual basis off of the investment that you put in. My deals are on the cash on cash is return of principal.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, you have $100,000 investment and you have 8% cash on cash return. After the first year, your basis is 92% because the 8% comes back to you as return on the principal. After the second year, it's 74, 84
84.
Basis. And the reason I do that is that you're not being taxed on the return of principal as you own property. But your basis does go down, so your long-term capital gains is going to be based off of a higher number. But the tax rate on the long-term capital gains is significantly less than your cash on your interest coming off of your annual distributions. So that kind of rolls over into your internal rate of return, which is basically taking the profit that you make on the sale, add in the interest that you made during the entire time that you held the property, add those together and get a gross return, then divide that by the number of years you've held it.
Mhm.
And that'll give you your internal rate of return on an annual basis.
Thank you. Did everybody follow that? That was a good piece of advice.
Another thing
Any-
that we do, you know,
Yes.
Thanks, Joanna. Sorry, Bob.
no problem. Is there a question?
I just asked if everybody got that, and she said yes.
Oh, okay. Another thing we do is I'm
Why, do you want to drive?
is holding the program long enough so we can build up a bunch of equity. And we give back, we basically buy out the investors
Yeah.
after, let's say, 5 years, if we have enough equity to do so. And then we keep the property,
Yay.
without investors, which really helps the cash flow. Now what you have to do is whatever you promised in your operating agreement, you have to match that or do greater when you cash out your investors. There's a property that we're doing right now that we're refinancing, and we're going to cash out the investors, but we don't have enough equity to pay their preferred return. So we keep them in the deal. They don't have any skin in the game now. And we split all distributions 50-50 with them.
That's great.
And then we get some complaints, but the first one, we'd like to stay in because the property's cash flowing well. I haven't had any complaints on the second option.
Yeah, we do that sometimes too, is that we will give the investor their capital back, but not anything else. And then they can stay in the deal for the cash flow.
Right.
So, if you ever actually cashed most of your investors out, but replaced an investor with somebody else, so
No,
that, okay, so you've never kind of switched out investors at 5 or 7 years.
no,
Okay.
never thought of it. I learned something.
So we've done that a couple of times when, if I had like 4 investors in to begin with, and I didn't have quite enough equity to give everybody their preferred return back. And so I cash everybody out, but I bring one more investor in at a certain amount and they get a lesser amount of equity, and I have the capital now to pay everybody else out, and then I'm going to take that person out at a later date.
With 1031, a
Hmm.
couple of apartment complexes.
Yeah, this is not a 1031. This is just I'm switching out my my investors.
Yeah, that's 1031 is we had a vote to the investors as to
Yeah.
whether or
Okay.
not they wanted to stay in or
Yeah.
get out. We're not going to do that again.
Oh,
It's too much of a nightmare.
yeah. Sometimes it sure is.
But we'll 1031 again, but it'll be the general partners have a say in how it's going to go, whether they stay in or whether they get cashed out.
So, do you know Pete Fortunato down in
Yes.
Tampa? Yeah. So
Hmm.
he's kind of the king of 1031s.
Yeah,
So
he's good at it.
on another question, if somebody were to find a deal that met some of your criteria, um, would you, do you want them to do any initial work and then potentially talk to you, or is that something you would consider or no?
Yes, I'd be willing to whether I got involved in it or not, I'd still look at your underwriting and the offering memorandum and put in my 2 cents worth for what it's worth.
How would they get in touch with you, Bob?
Um,
Can James take your name and your email and put it into the chat for everybody?
Sure, if I do it, we'll all be retired. It's Bob Bryenton, Bryenton. And it's Bob at BryentonSales.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is 828-273-7000. But yeah, if you come across the deal, I'll be more than happy to help you out.
What's the size you're looking at?
Well, just to give my 2 cents worth or whatever, anything 5 units or bigger.
Oh, so you look at small deals too, huh?
Yeah, not for myself.
Okay.
The deals that I look at now are 150 units or bigger.
Yeah.
But right now, my son and daughter are putting together a deal where they're buying a 46 unit, and that'll be their first deal that they've done on their own.
Oh, neat. That's
Sort
so
of on
neat.
their own.
Sure. Well, yeah. Yeah, you kind of have to look over their shoulders.
Yeah. But they don't want any involvement from me, just the safety net.
Yeah, kind of a profit in all land but your own.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd look over someone's underwriting, the offering memorandum. If I saw something that stuck out, they'd point it out. And if it's something that I've got more interest in, I've got access to CoStar. I can run that for you.
Oh, yeah.
But
So what are you seeing? What's on the market these days? What are you seeing that you like or don't like? What are some of the generalities that you're seeing? Are cap rates going up? It seems to me they are going up a little bit. Interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. Are there some markets? Because I'm reading a lot from Fannie and Freddie that there's a lot of new multifamilies coming online this year and next year, and that some markets are going to be really overbuilt.
well, like any real estate, it's a local business, and I've found in Asheville where I live, it's there's only a 3% vacancy rate, and what's happened is that the new builds are beautiful A-class property, and they've taken $3,500 a month for
Wow.
a 2 bedroom. But the problem is that Asheville is a very service-oriented community, and the pay wages are significantly less than 3,500 a month. So they need 2 or 3, 4 people to take over. So what I'm seeing is a plethora of new builds, but they're being overbuilt as far as quality and letter grade,
Hmm.
where we need to see a lot of B-class properties coming in. So the rents are significantly less. Um, I'm seeing 55 and over. Some buddies of mine are building a 600 unit complex in Asheville, and they're already taking pre-leases. Um, Atlanta's a real screwy market. It's very neighborhood driven. Um, and a couple of the counties now have created a fund or if you're evicted, they'll help pay your legal fees to contest your eviction. I think that's in DeKalb County. So to say it's tenant friendly is an understatement.
Yeah, it's kind of not fun in a lot of the ways. And I think we have a hand up here.
Yep, I just had a question. Do you know roughly what the new construction cost is on units like that? Like your friend's building the 600 units?
385 to 395.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
More than I'm paying.
What's that?
More than I'm gonna pay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the number again?
385 to 395.
That's a square foot.
Yeah.
Wow. And do
Is
you-
that for,
They've got-
is that for an A-class building, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have more amenities than you can think of.
Well, affordability is such an issue in this country right now. The lack of affordability. I'm kind of in the C class, B minus kind of, B, C kind of neighborhoods. And because I'm really trying to not make affordability more of an issue than it already is.
So that 385, 395, that was for the 55 up unit.
Almost, yeah.
So they've got a lot of extra amenities. Do you know roughly what it costs to build just a basic, I don't know if anybody's building basic, but apartment buildings, roughly?
We're getting ready to build one in a housing development that we're doing. And we're looking at 275
Okay,
square foot.
and that's just sticks and bricks, no overhead, or is that everything, include the contractor?
Well, we're the contractor.
Oh, so sticks and bricks.
Sticks and bricks and infrastructure.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
We already own the land.
All right, is there other questions? Anything else that you kind of want to think we ought to know, Bob? And then we can turn it over for questions.
Oh, boy. I think if you want to get in this business, you definitely have to be thick-skinned and don't be afraid to ask somebody that has already been where you want to go. I mean, I've asked people all the way along and partner with someone that their strengths are offsetting your weaknesses because it's a team sport. It's about all.
I had a really quick question. So you mentioned I guess the municipality or the city or whatever it is that has a fund that is helping tenants out. I guess if they need to go to court to fight their eviction, is that Atlanta?
DeKalb County.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Baltimore has something like that too going on.
Yeah, they're both crazy.
Baltimore City.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son's a broker in Buckhead, and he says it's some of the laws that are being considered to be passed. You're gonna pull your hair out as a landlord.
Anybody else have questions?
Boy, I would take all advantage you can. This is a guy with 30 years of business and real estate experience. You just don't find him like him. He's
Absolutely.
built a portfolio up to 8,000 units. So, that are his, not that he's, so you don't find people like Bob very often in this game.
Thank
Do you
you, Bob.
wanna-
A question for you.
Sure.
Thank you so much for jumping on. So if you could have gone back and done something differently, what advice could you give your younger self or for us newbies that don't have a property yet?
Start off with what you're comfortable with. And my first one was 36 units. My kids are doing 46. I'm working with two guys that are starting with 300 units. So it's wherever you're comfortable with. And if I had other advice, I'd go bigger, quicker. Because if you're doing 100 units, the actual work that you do is the underwriting and everything else is identical to what you're doing as a 20 unit. Just the numbers are different.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, where do you go about finding your deals, Bob?
Well, now I'm pretty fortunate that I've been doing it long enough with a good reputation that brokers bring deals to me that they haven't shopped around to too many other people. Word of mouth. Picked up a couple of properties through the local CREA, Real Estate Investment Club here in Asheville. Just keeping your ears open, because you hear people talking about so and so did this and they got burned, or they lost the deal, or they're going to lose the deal. My first deal I got because the brokers knew that I wanted to get involved, and the two owners, or the two guys that had it under contract, lived in New Jersey, and this property was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the lender wouldn't loan on an out-of-state investor. So they asked me to come in as a in-state investor. And I said, yeah, 20% is what I want for ownership. And 25,000 on top of that. And they said, no, it's too steep. I said, okay. And then the broker called me back about 3 hours later, and they said that they were interested in letting me assume the entire deal if they would just pay back what their earnest money is. So I paid the earnest money, or then I had to pay that anyways. I reimbursed them the attorney's fees, which I would have had to pay for anyways. Renegotiated the contract from 850 to 775, and got 60 days, no interest from the city of Charlotte, because what they were doing was selling off all of the affordable housing that were under 100 unit complexes. So that's how I got my start. The other thing I wanted to point out is, like, if you are interested in bringing on a KP, not everything's cast in stone. I mean, I don't like to negotiate, but I will, because I want to see someone get started. But I get 20% of the acquisition fee, 20% of the manager's cash flow, not the investors, and 20% of the managers promote on the sale. Now, if there's asset management fees, that stays with the managers, the general partners. Even though I'm one of them, I don't take any.
So I have kind of a question because now I've never done this, so this is a new one. This is new for me, but I've not done it because I think if I'm kind of signing for the loan, I want to be involved in some of the decision making because I don't want people, I want to make sure that the things are going the way it should. So, how do you deal with that? How would you deal with that? I mean, that's just always been my big stumbling block in this area.
Well, I don't get involved in the day-to-day. We have third-party and management companies that do that. I do spend time talking to the management company. And my partners, I have a bi-monthly meeting with just my general partners to give 30,000 foot
Mhm.
view. And if there's anything that needs to be drilled down, I'll do that. But most of the time, I just let them
Do you,
run it. And
do you have anything in the operating agreement though that would allow you to step in or have some sway if things are going not the way you want?
yes, it's a vote of the all the general partners. Majority
Okay.
wins.
I think Joe, is it Nashra, have a question over there?
Yep, Nashra has a question. Um, Hi, Bob. Thank you so much for your time today. My
Good
question
question.
is, which class of properties or neighborhoods do you find the highest return of investments, A, B, C, in your experience?
Mhm. See properties that we have spent investment money to bring up to a B class property that we've held on to. We had one property that was part Section 8, part market rent. And we held on to it for 14 years. And we cashed out the investors early on. And the returns were embarrassing.
Mhm.
We were getting 41% return on our money.
Hmm.
So that was annual.
I'd say that's good enough. It's not embarrassing.
Trying,
That's darn good.
trying to repeat it, but haven't come close. But the other thing is I don't deal with banks. The reason being is that they're all recourse loans.
Mhm.
And so I'll do non-recourse loans. And you start working with loan brokers. And maybe they'll explain it to you so you understand it and you can understand, you can explain it to me is it's harder for me to borrow up to $1 million than it is to borrow $10 million.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So lenders want banks will lend you money up to $1 million if you got a 60% loan to value. Small lenders will do from 1 million to 5 to 7 million. And the big institutional guys, they don't want to look at anything under 10 million. So get over the nervousness. Now this is easier said than done, and it took me about 10 years. Get over the nervousness of looking at a lot of zeros on the end of the number, because they are only numbers.
Mhm. Okay, I'll embrace the zeros.
Yes.
Well, I resemble Bob on that remark too, because it took me quite a while to get past all those zeros. I started out small and stayed small for a few years until I got up some courage. But so I think it's probably pretty common. And, the big deal is to just get a deal done, to just do a deal.
Mhm.
And then it's a
And that-
lot easier to get past those zeros.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
We've got time for a couple more questions.
Another thing that a key principle does is when you get into the best and final round of your offer, you have a pretty standard question and answer resume form to fill out. Do you have, how many units do you have? How many have you bought in the last year? How many do you have under contract? How many do you have in this particular market? Do you have your income, proof of funds? And I basically said, I won't let the broker see my proof of funds. I'll show my personal statement, my schedule of real estate on to the lender. I won't do it to the broker. It's none of his business.
It's a good idea. Any funny stories?
We tried buying a $60 million deal in North Atlanta submarket. And the guy that was selling it was realized that he had sold it to us too cheap. He never showed up at closing.
Oh, jeez.
He wrote us a $3.5 million check to go away.
Wow.
So, but that really screws up your tax. bill.
Yeah.
Walking, you'd be surprised and shocked at how people live. Because we do 100% walkthrough of every unit before we purchase. And you've got so stereotypical little old lady that is spotless. And then next to her is the hoarder. And then there's the guy that's got 3 boa constrictors as pets. So don't be amazed. Be shocked, but don't be amazed. Trying to think. And then I guess the other best story is one of my partners that I've done most of my deals with. We were at a seminar in Greenville, South Carolina, and there was a guru that was pitching multifamily, and it was one of those to say, everybody that's heard of this guy, stand up. So the whole crowd stood up. Says, how many of you have taken the weekend class? Stay standing. So most everyone sat down. Now those that have taken the intensive seminar, stay standing. There was myself and one other guy. And I had no idea who he was. And the guy presenter just said, now, would you tell us what you think of the training that you got from becoming a mentor? And I looked at the other guy, and the other guy looked at me, and he said, "Oh, you go ahead." Oh, damn! He says, how do you politically say it wasn't worth the money?" But I basically said, "Well, it's like anything in life; you get what you paid for. And if you put time and energy into it, you'll get a lot out of it." And he copped out and said, "Well, that's exactly what I tell the guy." So we started talking, and come to find out we were bidding against each other on a property in Texas. So we decided rather than bid against each other, we'd go ahead and combine forces. And we didn't get that property, but we purchased 4,000 units together over the years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's neat.
Very cool.
And the other thing is going to the Philippines, but to get virtual assistants is a good thing because they do a lot of great work for a little bit of money. So my daughter was living in Hawaii because she's married to a captain in the Navy. And so I went halfway, but she certainly wasn't inexpensive. Now she's running the whole back office for me.
But she's in Virginia now, Northern
Yeah.
Virginia,
Chesapeake,
Chesapeake.
Virginia Beach area. So
Well,
you think you bring your children on to work for you. Doesn't take long before you realize you're working for them. You're still writing the checks to them, but they're running the show. And then my wife retired from her corporate job and she decided to help. So I'm sequestered. I just do what I'm told.
But don't you like having your kids kind of working with you now?
I do, except for when I'm arguing with them and they're right.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bob.
they got a different way to look at things than I do.
Yeah,
Neither right
yeah,
or wrong. It's just, they're more up to speed.
yep. And the younger you are, they are, the more wrong you are.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Hey, I've got a 12-year-old goddaughter who just thinks she knows everything at this point, and just as it's like you just don't know what you're talking about, God, Mom.
Yeah.
So that's kind
But
of
they come back, they wake up one morning and they're back. The speech comes back, the voice, the memory comes back.
yeah. How old do they have to be?
Late teenagers.
Well, I think we have, that's probably, unless, is there any one last burning question that anybody has? Because we're about 7:27. So I would like to really thank Bob for being on and spending his time. And I can't tell you enough how bright he is and how sharp he is. Um, and how I've enjoyed all of the years we've known each other. So thank you so much, Bob, and I
You're
really
quite welcome.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you and all the rest of you for wanting to make your lives better for you and your families.
Thank
Because
you, Bob.
it's a great way to make a living. I've had, Nicole said I was a fly fisherman. What she hasn't said is I've fished all over the world because of apartments.
Yeah, you go fishing. Yeah, I've heard of you, what, Chile and
Argentina,
Argentina and Alaska, and you went to somewhere in the Far East, didn't you?
Mongolia,
Mongolia and
New
Russia.
Zealand, Russia, New Zealand.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of just stay in some of the rivers in the Pacific Northwest. So I haven't gone fishing all over the world. That's still a pretty male dominated group. They don't look very favorably on having women on their male kind of fishing trips. So
Oh, that's changed a lot.
has it
Yeah,
really?
at least where I've gone. There's usually 2 or 3 ladies fishing on out of 12 people.
Oh wow, okay. And then I haven't been a member of years, so but thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. We'll let you go and I'm gonna turn it over to yeah, everybody thanks.